Welcome to No Hacks, a series of short interviews with experimenters, optimizers, marketers, and product builders from all over the world. In this one, I asked Jonny Longden, Chief Growth Officer at Speero, how digital optimization and experimentation need to change in 2025 and beyond. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get more videos like this in the future. Jonny, I have a question for you. How does digital experimentation need to change and evolve in 2025 and beyond?
Yeah, thank you. It's an absolutely fantastic question. One that I'm talking about a lot at the moment. So I really fundamentally believe that we've got ourselves into a situation where experimentation is synonymous with A/B testing and with A/B testing software, and therefore with the optimization of websites and website content and things like that. Optimization being the imperative word there. And this makes no sense really if you think about it. Like, if you think about the broader concept of experimentation, all that really means is finding ways to use evidence and insight and be guided by, some form of data and better ways of making decisions really. So there's no reason why you can't apply that to everything or anything about a business. There's no reason why you can't do that. And, it's become so common that experimentation equals A/B testing that people think unless you can run an A/B test, then the alternative is just simply to guess. And this is absolutely not true at all. Like scientists don't get put off by the fact that they can't run controlled experiments. They find the best evidence they can with what they've got to work with. And that's how science works. It's about being as confident as you possibly can. There are loads of fields of science where you cannot run really good statistical controlled experiments. Like they're either unethical or just impossible, but it doesn't stop the overall scientific method, if you will, and process and things like that. So I think, that we've lost sight of what experimentation is. We've turned experimentation into a technical thing and a piece of software, and it's not. It's a attitude and a way of doing things and a way of life, really. So
I love that take. I completely and fully agree with everything you just said. A follow-up question is, why did we end up here? Why does experimentation equal A/B testing in the minds of a lot of people, or most people?
Yeah, well, a few things really. I mean, number one, people in the business world love to simplify things and compartmentalize things, and it's easy to do things by buying a piece of software to do it, and hiring somebody with a job title who does that. So, it's a lot down to that. Like it's a thing that's developed around a piece of software, really, and around a methodology. So it becomes equated with that thing. It's like, let's do this, let's buy a piece of software, the same as CRM is a piece of software, whereas actually it's not. It's having relationships with your potential customers and audience and things like that. So it's a lot down to that. And it's just, it's a natural way that like businesses like to just have easy, simplified things. And it's also a lot to do with how it's been developed and sold. So, there's a long history of CRO that comes from consultants and agencies jumping on A/B testing software back in the day and creating this thing of CRO, which, whether people are conscious of it or not, is how they've been taught around what it is. So it's simply that nobody ever just steps back and thinks, how do we make better decisions about developing and growing our business? And instead they're, thinking about these things that they can do and boxes they can tick and things like that.
Right. Anytime it's mindset over tactics and tools, I'm all for it. This is literally what No Hacks podcast was made for, to talk about things just like this. So I love that you were saying all of that. So going from this is a tool, this is A/B test, like you should just focus on A/B testing. And I've had, when I was a CRO consultant, almost every client, the first question they asked is, when do we run our first A/B test? And before any research, before anything else, they want to run an A/B test. Whatever it is, they just want to, do the cool thing and run A/B tests. So from here, how do we go to where you and Speero are trying to take us?
Yeah. I mean, the starting point is understanding where it is you're trying to get to. And The analogy I always use is how, we put man on the moon. There was an incredibly clear goal of putting man on the moon, and experiments that might have been to do with rocket propulsion only made sense within that context. Imagine if they just started off and just gone, right, let's run some experiments on rocket fuel. So the starting point is having a really clear understanding of goals and objectives, and mapping those to things that you might want to do. And very much like you should never start out with data. You should never start out with the experimentation, because the things you want to do and the way that you want to try doing them, the way you want to trial them and learn, might not be possible in an experiment, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. So I think that's the really key thing, is just not beginning with software, tools, data, or anything like that. Personalization is exactly the same. Everybody goes, let's do some personalization. We'll buy a personalization tool. Right, what shall we personalize? Personalization, has to mean something strategically to you, and has to mean something about your relationship with the customers and the service and product that you're trying to develop. And until you figure that out, there's no point then approaching it. And experimentation is exactly the same thing. It's a tool for learning and growing. So the very first thing is to understand what your intentions are around learning and growing.
So basically the advice would be start doing the work without the tool, figure out what exactly you want to do without even knowing which tool you're going to use, I think would be probably the better approach, and then find tools that support your goals.
Yeah, there's some existential questions, which are what are we trying, what's our purpose, what's our mission, what are we trying to deliver? And, big companies have these sort of big corporate missions and things like that. It doesn't have to be about that. It just has to be about, having a really clear goal of what it is you're trying to achieve, and not in metrics. Increased conversion rate is not a strategy. It's, just a very kind of transactional thing. So where are we playing? Where are we trying to win? What are we doing? What's the service we're trying to give? What are we trying to get people to think and feel about the product that we have? All that kind of stuff. Have an actual strategy for that. And then you can use research and insight to understand some of the things that you want to do. The example that I have is I worked with a client a few years ago who wanted to appeal to a younger audience. They really felt that their brand was, perceived to be an older brand than it should be based on their product. So their big question was, how do we appeal to a younger audience? And that's the sort of thing that you want to start with. Those are the big questions. And you can break that down into testable things. The solution to that will either be change your branding, change your addressable media and targeting, or change the nature of your product and the way the product is merchandised when people first see it. So each of those three things can then start trickling into things that you can test. So that's an example really of how, you want to start out with what are the big questions that we're trying to tackle as a business or a team or whatever.
Start by figuring out what your man on the moon is, basically, and then do all the small tests. Jonny, that was really insightful. Thank you very much. Congratulations again on the new role with Speero, and I will talk to you soon.